My mom is 44 years old and a tutor in Hong Kong. She is from Little Rock, Arkansas. Our family moved here 2 years ago from Atlanta, Georgia. Moving to such a big city, there are many differences to a small town. By result, there are many things challenging her identity. Had about the way you feel about this.
Um, I consider myself to be from the U.S., but we've lived in Hong Kong for 6 years, so Hong Kong is also home. I think when we go back to the U.S., I'm sometimes in culture shock. Just the lack of public transportation. Um,
Sometimes she feels confused or like an outsider in her home country without having a home in the U.S.
when we go back to the U.S. right now, we don't go home. We go and we see in-laws and grandparents and family and friends, and so because of that, we don't stay at one house. We're constantly traveling, so we don't necessarily have a place to call home when we go back to the U.S.
Living in Hong Kong, there are many times she feels that she cannot fit in.
Sometimes people at my office will speak in Cantonese because they're talking about something else that doesn't involve me, but it's kind of nice to be able to hear and understand what they're saying, so I felt kind of confused. I assume they're not talking about me, but it's kind of confusing when someone speaks in another language when you're around.
In the US, there are many intangible principles that you cannot get in Hong Kong, and she misses some of those.
Americans do it yourself type attitude. I think in Hong Kong we have a lot of people who help us out and do a lot of things for us. So part of that is kind of abandoned in Hong Kong.
Despite differences from the US, she has found ways to make contributions to Hong Kong culture through teaching. In Hong Kong.
Well, I'm a teacher who was trained in American schools, and so some of my students have more kind of a local viewpoint. And although it's a great viewpoint and they have some very strong strengths, it's also nice to bring in some of the American culture as well. It's a little bit more holistic and kind of forward thinking as far as what am I going to get out of this as far as growth, whereas sometimes the local curriculum is here and now and very regimented.
Despite calling herself American, she continues to accept and add to the culture in Hong Kong.